we're going. Josh, shill me on shipping companies.
Well, hello there, Justin. Before we talk about shipping, I do want to talk about some cryptos right now because it's the first time in a long time where I haven't heard anyone else talking about them,
Sure, let's
and
talk crypto.
I haven't checked, and I enjoy that. I enjoy getting my eyes and ears a break from nonstop Bitcoin pump and dumps. And so what are your current thoughts on the crypto market? Well, first off, what do you own, if anything? Right now, I'm completely crypto free.
Gotcha. Josh, you could say I own a little bit of XRP.
Oh,
And by that I mean I pretty much only own XRP. I own a little bit of Dash, thanks to our good YouTuber based Gregory Manarino. But to put that down in perspective, I have like 99.5% of my crypto holdings in XRP. I'm like 0.5% in Dash. So you run with that. Oh, and I've got $6 in USDC because I haven't figured out how to get my $6 out of that without having to pay like $10 in Ethereum fee. So it just kind of sits there. Josh, yourself,
mm,
do you have any crypto?
I I'm currently crypto free. I owned a about 4 or 5% of my portfolio going into from about like 17,000 to 6,000, and
Okay.
now mm, I'm crypto free. And I sold everything because it seemed like a mania. It was a mania. And since then, we've had about a
Yeah.
50% correction. And I would still call it a mania, but it is no longer as bad as a mania. And I'd say we at least talk a little bit about why we like philosophically. I think it's hard to disagree with Bitcoin. And and if you are being intellectually honest, I think you have to agree that there are some flaws about Bitcoin that you cannot dispute. And you can say that it will make the price go up, but I just don't believe it. Such as if, let's say, all governments decide to ban it via death. We Bitcoin maximalist a few weeks ago or months ago, and they said I asked them if governments banned Bitcoin by death, it would what would happen to Bitcoin, and he said the price would skyrocket the next day, and I would in, just completely disagree with that
Yeah. Well,
because
just let me just jump in for a quick second on that front. So just to reiterate, the government says if we catch you owning Bitcoin, we'll execute you. You know, we're just going to put a gun to your head and then paint your brains onto the drapes. Okay, so let's just say they have the ability to do that, they have the means to do that, and more importantly, the citizens believe that it's a credible threat to do that. Here's my follow up question to that, because what you're seeing right now in cryptos, like before I did XRP, or when I was still in XRP, I started playing around on the Binance Smart Chain and doing some work with DEXs and some yield farming and whatnot. But the point is that if you have the ability to wrap a Bitcoin in something else, so for example, you can say, "Well, listen, government, I don't own any Bitcoin myself. In fact, here are all my accounts. I own no Bitcoin. However, I do happen to own a bunch of Ethereum tokens that have a one-to-one stand-in for Bitcoin." And this gets back to the monetary pyramid, that concept, because you can't necessarily own the thing itself. What happens if you own a representation of the thing in of itself? So, for example, let's say you're looking at like some government. I'll pick on Dubai or whatnot. The UAE says, listen, we're gonna tell the rest of the world to f off, and it's still okay to own Bitcoin in Dubai. So you have some company or some firm that goes in and says, okay, well listen, we're gonna buy a bunch of Bitcoin, and we will hold the Bitcoin because it's legal to do so in this jurisdiction in the UAE. But we're gonna issue our own coin, like a Josh Bitcoin coin, and it's good for it because you can see the one-to-one ratio on the public ledger. How would you deal with that? Because it seems like a kind of a cat and mouse game. Sure, you can ban someone from owning Bitcoin, but can you really ban someone from owning whatever derivatives or whatever like second order version of money comes from Bitcoin? Do you see the question?
yes, and I think let's say it would probably be good for the
Mm-hmm.
use case of Bitcoin, and people now might start transacting in Bitcoin because you can't take your Bitcoin and translate it into USD. So let's say I agree, I take your Bitcoin for X product, and you accept X Bitcoin for giving me that product, and that would be fine. I just don't think I think that would be negative on the price of Bitcoin because the vast majority, no company is going to to buy Bitcoin. All of them will sell. All your retail investors will sell. Almost all of your institutional investors will sell. It will just be the people that are using Bitcoin on a day-to-day basis, which I think would be a very small portion of the people that are buying Bitcoin today. People are buying Bitcoin not because they want to use Bitcoin, but because they think the price of Bitcoin
Okay,
is
so
going up.
yeah, again, I see where you're coming from that point. Agree with it, but the thing though gets back to it. Like if you're talking, I am far from a Bitcoin maximalist. I think Bitcoin's done a lot. Personally speaking, for myself, I think Bitcoin's done a lot of good. I'm glad that it happened. It's educated an entire younger generation into the concept of fiat, or at least opening the door to these thoughts. So, and no one can ever take that away from Bitcoin. So, thumbs up to Bitcoin for doing that. But so you mentioned institutions, and you mentioned the government regulation, and the price action. And I do think that the Bitcoin maxis are on to something correct when they talk about the various layering. And again, this is, the pure, I wish I could throw up the graphic, but the monetary pyramid, where you essentially have a very slow and very hard to move or expensive to move original Bitcoin. And then you have these representations that get put on top of it that can do various different things. If you're going to make the argument that Bitcoin is a store of value, okay, I can kind of see my way to that. But as I told you before, if it is a store of value, gold is a store of value, and just like Bitcoin, gold is slow and expensive to send. Bitcoin is slow and expensive to send. So I don't know. Me speaking personally, I don't know if that's going to be the big thing on that front. And as far as institutions go, I do think that if you saw Bitcoin get banned, forget pain of death, just Bitcoin gets banned, whatnot, right? And you see institutions dumping Bitcoin. My suspicion is that I do think that dip would get bought up pretty quick. It might go down, but I think it's going to bounce back even harder. Think about what Snyder talks about with who was the country? Was it Honduras or was it El Salvador? Who's the country that just recently adopted it as legal to El Salvador? El Salvador. Like if you have something like that going on, my gut tells me there'll be more demand to easily offset whatever institutional demand is lost or should the regulatory environment preclude an institution from owning it. So I guess I would say put me in the bullish camp for the price of Bitcoin, because if that's ultimately the real question is, will the price go up or will the price go down? My guess is that the price would go up.
Yeah. Maybe over time. But I would think you would have to be looking out at least 5-10 years, because if let's say you put your Bitcoin back in the USD and you have to keep it in the crypto world. What happens when like all Wall Street people are out, and because they don't care about Bitcoin. They don't care why they're buying Bitcoin. They care that Bitcoin's going up in price, and they're going to trade the volatility of Bitcoin, because that's what they do. They don't care about Bitcoin. Like I could be underplaying my, like, I could be completely wrong. My speculation is, though, let's say there's a heavy ban on Bitcoin, and the credible threat is real. They are enforcing law on people transacting in Bitcoin that are being caught. And I see the price going down a lot. And I would probably be a buyer. Trust me. I mean, I would be a buyer.
They will execute you if they catch you holding Bitcoin, and you will buy.
No, not execution, guys. I don't think that's likely at all. I was just putting a hypothetical situation out. I would, like, let's say they ban it by, like, just they say you can't use Bitcoin anymore, and the price takes a massive fucking dump. That's when I would want to buy, because there would be buy things that are cheap. It would be a speculation, but everything's a speculation.
But see, in that case, like, Josh, what I really hear you saying is that what you want the negative public sentiment. It could be anything that generates negative public sentiment. Like, isn't that what's really driving you? Is you want the contrarian play?
Yes, but I'm fine waiting. I am not a buyer at these levels anymore, and there's a lot of people right now that own Bitcoin that they don't know why they own Bitcoin, and I think there'll be a time if maybe Bitcoin goes from now, I think it's at 30,000 all the way up to everyone's 1 million plan, but I don't think that there won't be a lot of volatility along the way. And I think there will be better opportunities to buy if you are planning to. I could be wrong, and I'm fine being wrong because I don't care if I'm wrong. I only buy things when the sentiment
Yeah.
is
Okay.
terrible. And the sentiment is it's good, but it's not
Okay,
where I
fair enough, fair
want it
enough.
to be.
Josh, let me see if I can get the screen share up here because I want to show you something real quick. So this is, can you see what just came up on the screen? Like, can you actually like read the numbers on that, or does it just kind of look blurry to you? Okay.
Not
Well,
not really. I if
okay,
you read it
gotcha.
to me.
So what this is that for everyone who's seeing this and can read the numbers, this is a crypto S. So it's a yield farm on the Binance Smart Chain, and this is the concept where so it runs on EVM, which means that you can use, I guess it's what, ERC20 tokens. I think I'm getting it right, but this I'm really kind of weak on this, so my apologies if I'm getting the terminology wrong on something, but I think I get the concept right. So when I scroll down on this right here, you can see the various pairs of what you can stake in order to earn a return on. And so if you take your Bitcoin and if you wrap your Bitcoin into wrap Bitcoin, so you have a stand-in on a one-to-one ratio for a Bitcoin, you can earn right now 8%, which really isn't, too terribly exciting right there. If you can kind of see that
All
8%.
right, but how are you earning that 8%?
Oh, it's magic internet
I
money.
mean,
It's magic
this
internet
company,
money. You put it in and you get it
yeah,
out. What a stupid
but my
question.
thing is, why doesn't everyone why doesn't everyone else give you 8% on your return? Why isn't the bank giving you 8%? But why is a crypto exchange giving you 8% on your return? The only explanation is that they're doing some risky shit to get a fucking massive return that could blow up. And it's that is you just the higher yield is not does mean that it's better. It is there's a lot of risk involved
Fair
with
enough,
that.
fair
I'm
enough.
just
I
putting
will
that out there.
also add that 8% is quite small. For example, the highest yielding pair they have right now is a 754% APY. Just so you know, like it's a
On what?
TPT, which I don't know, and a BUSD, which is, I think,
I thought you said an 8% yield, like you were returning an eight
that's
percent
that's
yield
with
on
just
your money,
Bitcoin. But
holding
you
it
don't
in there.
necessarily have to stake just Bitcoin. So for everyone who's watching live, Josh, when you see the stream on YouTube, you'll see these numbers in real life. Like I'll just slowly scroll down the thing. You've got a 300% return. Well, maybe go to one of the more popular ones.
What? Just hold the coin? You
Oh,
return
it's
300%.
153% to stake. That's I think that's the key is that you have to stake it or whatnot. So that's or like a Cake USDT is paying 146%. Let's see what else is going on here. If there's any other pairs that are interesting. Oh, just staking Cake itself is 113%. So let me swap over to one other screen too. Where are we? I've got a good buddy who's doing this right now, where he's in the auto cake stake. And so here's what happens, Josh, is that like they pay you out in their own currency. And the way they get their APRs is to say, if you were to exchange this own currencies back to like a dollar equivalent, Tether or USDC or whatnot, this is what the numbers would be. But you're right to be suspicious on that front. I will also say, as just a matter of fact, I've done a little bit of staking. I currently have nothing staked right now. I've called everything back home to my own wallets that I control, again mainly XRP. But when I was in it, I I got the numbers that they advertised. I got the numbers that they advertised when I was in it, but I have since gotten out of it for kind of the reasons you alluded to.
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, if I was a if I was a Nazi fella, then while the bull market's ripping, I mean, and I would be fine holding like getting a massive return. It's just once you think that like you have to almost trade, you have to almost be a trader when you're receiving this interest because the interest isn't going to blow up when everything's going up.
Well, I think really the bigger thing is this, Josh, is that when I think about your trading style, I've seen it before, and I think of, let's say, a boomer in their mid 70s, shopping for dividends. And like, I know you've got to go here in just a second because, it's almost what, coming up on what, 4 p.m. your time. And, they're about to open, the kitchen buffet for dinner. So we don't want you to be late for that. Mr. Value Investor. And sometimes, the kids with their crypto might be a little off, a little strange. So I certainly don't want to make anyone uncomfortable or put them in a strange spot. But what I would say is this: getting back to Bitcoin. I think one of the so let me know what you think about this, Josh. I think one of the unique things about Bitcoin is the word I want to use, and it might not be a good word, is gravitas, in the sense that everyone, including people who want nothing to do with crypto, have heard, have probably heard of Bitcoin. I think that's interesting, and I think what that does is for for the big investors who are timid, or if timid's not the right word, they're slow, but they're big. If everyone's heard about it and everyone's talking about it, I suspect that it's easier for these big guys to get in on it. If the big guys get in on it, you get this FOMO effect where it basically puts pressure on the bid, sending the price up, creating, the self-reinforcing loop or whatnot. That being said, when you look at the regulatory landscape, I think that just as the big guys can FOMO in to a good extent and send the price up, if something bad happens on that front, or something comes up to change, they're going to FOMO right back out of it. So
and the amount of luck you can take on. I mean, it is just absolutely fucking ridiculous. You can take on 100 times
let me see if it,
to buy
let me see
these
if I can
cryptos.
Get it pulled up. Hold on.
And that's cause a massive series of margin calls. I would just like to see like a chart in these cryptos, because, or at least when it was on its bull run up to 60,000, I mean, it must have been astronomical.
Yeah. Shoot, I should have had it queued up. Josh, I can actually show you the Binance, or maybe BitTrue might have. The point is, I can actually show you the products where you can get in with 100x leverage and plus on this stuff. And so it's like, what could possibly go wrong? Yeah. What could possibly go wrong on this? But to bring it back down, what I think is particularly interesting with crypto, and then this is, if no one's actually read Layered Money, by all means, it's a relatively short book. It's well worth it. You can get it on Audible, or if you want the old-fashioned style, you can do it too. But it's a really good job of helping to build a mental framework of how to understand currency and how, when you go between these various layers, currency changes. So for the crypto guys watching it, you can have core Bitcoin, but you can't use Bitcoin, for example, in a smart contract, but you can use a stand-in for Bitcoin, a wrap Bitcoin or whatnot, or just like with anything. And so it's very interesting when you see, these dynamics come through, because if a country, like to your point, Josh, if a country's trying to ban something, well, do you ban a derivative of it? Or how do you define a derivative? What if it's it just, there's a whole host of things that it's going to be, well, anyways, I don't know what the answer is, but it's a Gordian knot to.
Yeah. I'm gonna take this back to where you were calling me a boomer in my in investing. and I would like to say, yes, I 100% love value plays, and I'm almost I like things that are cheap. I only buy things that are cheap, but there are times for speculation, and it's about portfolio construction. And I have a section of my deep value plays that don't move. Literally, I think so let's say I've had this Russian equity for the past few months. It yields 11%. It does nothing. It has not moved. It just sits there every single day. But you need that portion of your portfolio, because you can't, you don't want your portfolio looking like a heartbeat going up and down every single day. So handle that and sleep at night. I can't. I know I know Justin is not as diversified, but I also have portions of my portfolio that are super asymmetrical speculation that I think have a high probability, and there happens to be a lot of those in the market right now that are just things that are cheap that I think have a catalyst that has a massive potential to do well. But I also have what I'd covered through a long volatility strategy. So there's really, I may be a massive boomer, but I still get my nuts wet in the asymmetry. I just think there's other ways to do it than putting in cryptos, because I think if you, let's say, buying long dated call options on coal companies, I think will probably than crypto, along with astronomical less risk.
Yeah, so I definitely would agree with that. I would say too, when it comes to my portfolio, I'm pretty long on a certain gaming company, which will remain nameless for the time being.
Oh, you don't say.
We'll just set that off to the side for a second. I'm sure it'll be in the news sooner or later.
Have the absolute complete opposite styles. But I mean, hey, everyone can win.
True, true, true. Yeah. So, and just a bit of background for myself. The largest part of my investments is undoubtedly real estate, and so when it comes to the market, it's me speaking for myself. I view it as a subsidiary, not subsidiary, but it's more like it's more for amusement or bemusement.
And massive speculation that could potentially
Yeah,
100x.
yeah.
And like nobody, I would not suggest anybody to just put their actual they're living on into what Justin's doing, because his like he doesn't live off this. He doesn't even think about it.
Yeah.
He
Or
he, he has cash flow
yeah,
that he
yeah,
can live
or to
off.
say it another way, if you look at like the 10-80-10 strategy or whatnot, the 80 well, it's not
Mm-hmm.
it's a little less than 80%, but the vast majority is of the income producing real estate, which means that when I look at, let's say, the 10% for speculation or the speculative part, that part I'll use crypto and I'll use equities for. But within the cryptos and within the equities, it is just nothing but speculation because you've got the real
Yeah,
estate and then the precious metals supporting the other end of the portfolio. So the answer is, Josh, I completely agree with you and Gammon from a framework perspective, but the way
mm-hmm.
that this sausage is,
You just do it
yeah,
vastly different, because like
yeah.
the speculation that the Gammon would do would just be completely different than what you would do. Because we like to buy them cheap.
Yeah, one of my goals is to get Gammon to
And
pick up GME. Like I don't know how I'm going to do it, but like that is I will find a way to get Gammon to get it. And same thing to you. And actually, I've got a few other people I need to sneak in a few GME shares for various reasons. But anyways,
all right, well, I think that should probably cover it for
oh yeah,
today, and I appreciate everyone that
yeah,
watched
enduring,
through
and
this.
hopefully, like I said, it's been a little bit better. Oh, Josh, hold on one second. Well, no, we'll catch for that second. Okay, everyone, thanks, and until next time.